Hey, Roger Davis with Servant Life. I'm here with longtime friends and partners, Oleg and Lena, from Ukraine. You guys have spent your entire life in Ukraine, and besides the times you've been traveling around the world doing different things like that. But I got to spend time with Oleg in April when we got to go over there. Some of you were a part of that with supporting them and what's been going on there. Lena at the time was in Spain, had to relocate out of the country, but we are thrilled to be able to have you guys here today to be able to talk about some stuff. Tell us about, since the spring, over the course of the summer, first of all, let me ask this question. Where have you guys been living and what have you been doing over the summer? And then specifically the ministry and mission of Radooga. What have you guys been able to accomplish?
Well, I evacuated with our team of women and children, 18 people total, first to Warsaw, Poland, and then to Spain.
And I lived in a refugee house shelter in the western Ukraine on the border with Hungary, and then when Kiev region got liberated, or partially liberated, it was still besieged when I went back to Ukraine, but we returned back to Kiev.
Yeah, so that's where you were when I came in April.
Right.
Got to share a floor, by staying there in the refugee house and spending some time there together, having just worship and fellowship. But talk to us about Radooga. You guys, amazing what's happened. Obviously, if you know what they were doing with Spirit of Victory, helping people out, as I call it, kind of the tip of the spear. You guys were already on the ground, helping people out with just basic needs. But then you really stepped into your sweet spot for what you've been doing for 25, 30 years.
Right.
Helping people out in their schools and through camps. Take us on that journey of what the summer ended up looking like.
Right. Well, one of the things that you helped us with, you brought iPads, because when we would deliver food and medicine and hygiene products to the shelters, we realized that kids were there stuck doing nothing. Parents were, in the phones all the time.
Trying to get news and just trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah.
Trying to get news, but also, not having any kind of relationship for months with their kids. So kids were left on their own. And I thought, well, we did orphan ministry before war. Why don't we take those kids, robotic kids, and why don't we relaunch these clubs for the kids, really to redirect their attention? I didn't know that the right word was socio-psychological support and spiritual support, but that's what I did. So I traveled to Kiev while Kiev was still besieged. I went to our office and I picked up those kids because I thought, what are they good for if Russia bombs our office building? So,
Legos and all sorts of stuff with the robotic kids.
To build robots and
amazing.
A coffee machine. I did bring my coffee machine because you cannot live without a coffee machine, even if you're a refugee. So I took it, and so we started those clubs. And basically that was for many when you build robots and you code, that redirects your attention from war. So kids were, in a sense, were even doing better than their parents. And I think one of the most beautiful things was parents who were first lived in that tragedy started joining kids and building something together, and that's
just using their mind differently.
Right. And so for many parents, that was the first reconnection with their children in months. So that's what I did. That's what we did before the summer, and then at the end of, I think at the end of May, our friends started talking about that, as the intensity goes down, people are going to wake up and realize the depth of tragedy, everything that they've lost, their lifestyle, their homes, everything. And so they're going to start experiencing that trauma in a new way. So we need to really come and do something. And they said, why don't we do camps? And I said, how
in the middle of war,
how can you talk about doing camps? And well, what we learned is that was one of the best social psychological support that we could provide.
It's what you guys know.
That's what we've been doing for the past 28 years.
You were dealing with what was right in front of you.
Right.
But you guys said, let's do what we know.
Right.
And it met a huge need right in the middle of that.
Right.
So you guys were able to do how many camps this summer?
100, exactly. Not 99, not 101. It was exactly 100 camps.
With 5,200 kids.
5,300.
5,300 kids there in Ukraine, in Radooga, and the team.
Some camps were far east, right on the...
And that was through the network of churches that you guys have developed.
29 camps were robotic and coding camps that we did with our staff, and the rest 71 camps were done through the network of youth pastors who used to bring their kids to Radooga and who used to come to Radooga, and now they were the ones who were serving children.
And in the middle of that too, one of the things that you were doing with a team from Spain and many places around the world was helping students with online school.
Right.
using technology, using those types of skills. Tell us a little bit about that, Lena.
Well, it's actually a God story of, we did camps for the last 28 years, and then during COVID, we realized camp were in great danger. So we started an online school 2 years ago, and then during this war,
Well before the war. I mean, in the middle of
before
COVID, all the
war,
online, just like here in the
yes.
States, what
so
we were doing.
we're getting this experience of teaching kids online and creating the system, so it feels like a real school with social connection for the kids. And during this war, even when we were evacuating from Kiev, while we were still in our vehicles, realized that our students were in the vehicles with their parents, stressed, or in bomb shelters in Kiev and other cities in Ukraine, extremely stressed. And we decided to take care of our students because they ran away with their phones. So we were running very low academical, but very highly social supportive classes for them.
Some of the classes were very much academics, but a lot of them were just gathering places where you're
Right.
scattered, no kids, and you
Right.
just get to gather in a safe place.
And we started hearing back from our students. Here I am stuck in the car with my friend who's not our school student. May he join? So that way we started joining more and more students, and we grew. So by the end of May, we grew from 277 students to over 12,000 students.
Wow, 12,000 students. So what was happening with 5,300 students through camps there with Radooga, what's happening in these online, just obviously tons of opportunity and tons of connection points. It's amazing the journey that you guys have been on. I know it's the journey we're still on.
Right.
Obviously, while things may not always be in the news cycle here in the States, you guys are still very much in the middle of it with what's happening with conflict, but also just meeting needs. And that's one of the things I love. Yeah.
And we're looking, talking about, there's actually not necessarily a deadline, but there is a duration that we're looking at, and the number is 7 years. Many, when Lena went through the first aid psychological training, many psychologists would say that Ukrainian children will never, ever, ever, ever return to the normal state.
Yeah.
But the next 7 years is going to be, if they're treated, if we do provide support, they will at least be able to stabilize. So they will always be traumatized, but 7 years are very critical. And so we're looking at the next 7 years of really, using everything that our ministry was doing, but focusing even more on trauma healing.
That's amazing. And you think about it too, like we have Ukrainian kids scattered all over Europe.
Absolutely.
Like literally they're all over the place. But then we have a lot of kids that are right back in Ukraine.
Yeah, imagine how so kids who never left their city and stayed in the besieged city, do they have trauma?
Saw it all.
Yeah. Kids who were on the road running away, do they have trauma? Yeah. Kids who had to relocate from the occupied territories to other places. It's just like it's trauma on trauma on trauma wherever, like there's not a single kid who didn't experience trauma.
And also thinking kids, they have good 70 years of life ahead of them. So they will either live that life with the trauma and alcohol abuse and drug abuse and depression, or, we can try and help them live that 70 years in a less and more productive way.
That's absolutely. When you look at what Jesus did, what did he do? He met physical needs. He met emotional needs. And you guys are there in Ukraine having the opportunity to meet these needs so we can also meet spiritual needs.
Right.
And also introduce them to Jesus and also introduce them. And that's what you guys have faithfully done. I'm so proud of you and how you've used your talents and your abilities, how you've used the moment. Because I know it's been emotional for you in the middle of your home. You having to flee, you having to be separated.
Right.
Your son had a wedding that hardly anybody could come to because it's in the middle of war.
Right.
Right. And one of our sons stayed in the besieged Kiev this whole time. So it was.
Well, even in the middle of that, though, you've continued to use what the Lord has given you. And so we're so very proud of you, all of our team at Servant Life and everybody that knows you personally, and those of you that don't know personally. You can continue to be involved. And one of the things you can do is through Servant Life, you can check out right here on our website. But we can continue to support what's happening in Radooga. We know teams aren't able necessarily to come in and out, maybe in small pockets. We're able to get some people in and out there to be able to help you guys, but not like we've done in the past. But we definitely want you to know what's going on in Ukraine, know what's happening with Radooga in ways that you can support. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
And
thank you for being brave to be the first American who came to Ukraine since war started. Nobody was able to cross the border, and you came and you helped us to relaunch those clubs. So thank you guys
Yeah, absolutely.
as well for everything you've done.
Absolutely, it's a joy to be a part.